So one of the things that I notice that many of us are doing these days, that I find myself doing, is when someone says, "How are you?" You give some sort of update. Maybe it's, "I'm really worried about the world," or "It's hard having my children at home," or "It's hard living by myself," or "I haven't figured out how to balance all of the things I need," or whatever it is, with then a but at least I'm healthy, but at least I'm, not, at least I still have a job, at least I have my health, at least, I've managed to turn off the news today, at least I don't have children at home, at least I do have children at home, whatever it is. There's this thing in us, in me, that feels like we have to situate ourselves in the grand ranking scale of suffering to be able to figure out what we are allowed to say and allowed to share. And I invite you to be sure you have a place where you can say how you're doing without the but at the end. And maybe that's just in your own heart. But these are challenging times. And we know that some people are facing more challenges than others, but that doesn't mean that our challenges don't count. And that ranking and comparing doesn't always help us, because it can be hard even if it isn't the hardest, even if someone is having a worse time. So I invite you to feel your feelings, even if it means you're complaining about your birthday party getting canceled, which is something that I had to find a friend to complain about this week. So whether it's big or it's small, this isn't easy. And make sure you're able to name that to someone or in your own heart to get through these times. So come, let us gather. Come celebrate Earth Day with us. Come, let us worship. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, my name is Chris Mesrosh, and I am the Sunday Service Coordinator for today's virtual service. And I'd like to welcome everybody, whether you join us regularly in this format, or whether this is your first time joining us in this format, or whether this is your first time joining our service at all. We are a liberal religion, and by that, we don't mean we're politically liberal. We mean that we accept many viewpoints, and we realize that wisdom and knowledge and love don't come from any one particular source. There's no peoples on the earth that have a monopoly on it. And the thing I love about this religion, and I think the thing that keeps drawing me back, is its willingness to include and to see, and the willingness to be wrong, and the willingness to see something from somebody else's perspective. So we hope you get that from today's service, but welcome.
All right, I invite you to find a posture that's comfortable for singing. And we'll start meditation on breathing together. So we'll start with a low part, and that is breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
I have two announcements today. The first is, over the next month or so, we are going to try, well, take advantage of the loss of geographical boundaries that meeting virtually provides and gather together with 2 other congregations in Michigan. So we'll be combining with Community Unitarian Universalists in Brighton and the Birmingham Unitarian Church in Bloomfield Hills for some joint worship. I think of this kind of as a virtual megachurch that we're going to create, or it's a chance to visit other churches and see what they're doing. One of the things that I appreciate from you all is when you visit another church, you often bring back an order of service and say, this is how they do that here. It's nice, and it's nice to see how other people are gathering. And if you stay for the virtual coffee hours, you can get to know some UUs from another part of Michigan. So that is starting next week. We're going to all go visit the church in Bloomfield Hills. And this also gives our staff and others a break from trying to figure out how to manage this technology and gathering, and a chance to focus on some other things. So check your weekly email. It's a different link because it's a different church, but I think it's going to be wonderful, and an opportunity we wouldn't have to hear some other preachers and some other church musicians and just see how other people are doing in these days. So I'm really looking forward to that. And also you should know that the church in Bloomfield Hills, their service starts at 10:30. So set your alarm, get up 15 minutes earlier or whatever you need to do to be able to be in this, to log into Zoom at 10:30 next week. Our second announcement is about a project that our RE committee is putting together for the children in our congregation, and that is a letter exchange. So we know some of our children are feeling more distant from their RE pals, and so if you or your children would like to participate in sending letters to classmates, please be in contact with Shannon Wrench from the RE committee to sign up to participate in this way. There's more details in your weekly email. Thanks, everyone.
And now I will light the chalice. Today's chalice words come from Sophia Lyon-Fays. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close, yet so far apart, each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, the space cannot hold, and time cannot measure.
Last week, Sibel read a poem that included the line, "Be joyful though you have considered all the facts." And that is a line that has been echoing in my mind all week. What does it look like to be joyful though you have considered all the facts? And the facts these days are enough to keep us sometimes from being joyful. And so I invite you, as long as people are sharing where their chalices are lit, to also share in the chat box, where are your sources of joy right now? I have a few that I want to share because I know joy can be hard and scarce sometimes in these days. So one of the practices I have is to go outside every day, even when it is snowing or raining or cold, to just notice. To notice the flowers that are blooming, to notice the trees that are starting to bud, to notice the piles of snow, whatever it is, that is a source of joy. My husband has started chalking on the telephone poles in our neighborhood and beyond words like love and peace and courage. And that helps to just see that, especially after it's been a few days and and perhaps the rain has come, but the words are still there. We've learned to put them on vertical surfaces and not horizontal with this weather, and that helps. Music helps. I found myself listening to the music that I went out dancing to when I was in my early 20s. There's something about those particular pop songs that are just giving me life right now. I have young children at my house, and so they are sources of joy in many ways. But one of the things that is giving me joy is that my son, who's almost 5, has insisted on creating days where we dress according to a theme. So we've had Sequins Friday and Stripes Saturday, and yesterday was Wear Something with an Animal on It day. I guess today is too. I have butterflies on my shirt. And just to have something that is really frivolous and delightful and kind of makes us feel like we're a team in our uniforms getting through all of this, it really helps. Also, food. So I'm finding myself eating comfort foods or trying new recipes. I know lots of people have gotten ambitious about baking bread. That has not been my story, but people are doing all kinds of things to find comfort. So I'm going to lift up a few things that other people are finding as sources of joy. Watching a baby bird in its nest, Zoom CrossFit, starting a victory garden, cuddling with kittens, grandchildren, long walks, sometimes with dogs, sometimes without, sunshine, family, spring flowers, noticing the clouds. That is one of the things actually that I love best about Michigan is you guys have, we guys have amazing clouds. I grew up where it was just one big cloud in the sky all of the time. And here there's distinctive clouds. Weeding a garden, the birds singing. Looking out at a lake, spring growth, new baby rabbits. Waiting for peregrine chips to hatch, organizing. Wood ducks and reaching out to others. So the poets say, and this is that joy and woe are woven fine, and I think of that the way our hands interlock. And that in the times that are hard, setting aside extra time and extra energy to be joyful matters. It can keep us going, it can give us energy, it can give us hope. And so I hope that you are finding those ways, as small as they are. And we know they don't balance out the big hard things, but they help us keep going a little bit, and that matters. So I hope you continue to choose joy as you're able, even though you've considered all the facts. So many of us have started receiving stimulus checks from the federal government. And as your minister, I know that we're all in very different financial situations. Some of us need that check to make rent or our mortgage payment, and some of us don't. And so this is a message for those of you for whom that money feels discretionary, feels extra. Be generous with it. We know people are struggling financially. And so I want you to reach out to the people in your network, the people you care about, perhaps people who aren't getting checks because they're undocumented or otherwise, and ask if you can help. I want you to think about the institutions that are caring for those who are most vulnerable and be generous with them. And I won't turn it down if you decide to be generous with the church, because we are grateful for that. But as your minister, I'm more concerned with you being generous than the particularities of your giving in this moment, actually. I want you to be generous because that is a spiritual discipline. I want you to be generous because hoarding is not how we get through this and how we create beloved community in the midst of pandemic. So this is the point where I ask you to be the generous people that you already are. So in this time, please give. It can be to the church, it can be to your neighbor, but be generous in these days because the world needs us all to be generous. The offering will now be received.
Please join me in giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to heartache, listen to grief. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to sorrow, listen to pain. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Listen to anger, listen to hurt. Be still and breathe. Be still and be. Be still and breathe. Be still and be.
The call went out to invite you to share with us, share with the community, the outdoor places that are giving you strength and courage or joy or any other positive emotion in these days. Here are a few of the images that you sent us. Our first reading today is The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Our second reading today is from a child in our community, Ocean Glover, and she will read it.
Taking action. Plants, animals, humans will go extinct if we don't use our survival instinct. We must be understanding and improve our way of living. We can reduce our CO2 by taking action through and through. This needs to happen rapidly. Start treating Mother Nature kindly. COVID-19 plus global warming. In our hard time of the coronavirus, good things can still come out of this. Let's travel by automotive, trains, and planes. More walking, running, biking produces gains. We're slowing down to lend a helping hand, in doing so protecting water, air, and land. We've learned we are connected to each other. We have one world. We're all in this together.
Well done. At this time, I invite you to join me in singing. This is number 207. Earth was given as a garden, and the lyrics are in your order of service and will soon be in the chat. Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, placed for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea. All created in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life flows fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more we'll eat and flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet-wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid our waste and warfare cease. Fill us all with grace overflowing. Teach us how to live in peace.
These are surreal times in which we are living, and it's important for us all to be flexible and courageous. So thank you for bearing with me. We are also inextricably linked and interrelated on this earth. We are all but one strand in the web of life. And the fact that this virus started in China a few months ago and has spread around the earth so rapidly, I think is a strong indication of that. And yet, there are places where I find hope and inspiration. With humans around the world sheltering at home, animals have shown up in the most unusual of places. Orca whales near Vancouver, wild turkeys in Oakland, California, swans in the channels of Venice, bobcats and bears wandering through the village in Yosemite, wild boar on the streets of Israel and Italy, lions laying on the road in South Africa. As unsustainably as we human beings have been living life on this planet, nature is unbelievably resilient. This much is already apparent in just this short pause of human activity. Imagine the possibilities if we could move towards living more in harmony with the earth and with each other. During this time of quarantine, we are all having different experiences. Everyone's having different reactions, different effects. Some of us are on the front lines, going to work every day to serve others of us who remain sheltered in place. Our experiences vary widely. Many of us have children at home 24/7, and the countless challenges of that cannot be underestimated. All of us have had our regular activities curtailed. Some of us feel relief at not having to go as many places and do as many things. Others of us are feeling lonely, disappointed, afraid, anxious. It is common and it is normal to feel a wide variety of often conflicting emotions that change rapidly, often in the course of one day, kind of a lot like Michigan's weather lately. It is important to embrace whatever emotions that we are feeling with as much gentleness and as much compassion as we can as we move through this time of trauma. And at the same time, many of us are well aware of the detrimental effects of living in the midst of a capitalist, patriarchal, heteronormative, white supremacist culture. Our current system is toxic and unsustainable. Living in the midst of a hierarchical culture that ranks everyone and everything according to economic status rather than inherent value has taught us that consumerism is the altar at which we should worship. How do we resist the pervasive myth that in order to feel better, we just need to buy more products? What if, instead of striving to get back into the rat race of unsustainable lifestyles, we took some of this unexpected time to explore ways that we can subvert or overturn the dominant paradigm? How amazing to see photos of Los Angeles with so much less pollution now that people are staying home. We can actually see the outline of the city through the smog. For those of us with any extra bandwidth in our lives during this quarantine, how can we explore ways to live more lightly on this earth? How can we minimize our negative impacts? Can we continue to find ways to drive less, shop less, use less plastic? I'm currently trying to minimize the amount of disposable plastic in my household, especially now that I spend so much more time at home and I'm not on the go. Can we take some of this time to research and read articles and books to help us better understand the many detrimental effects of living lives steeped in the values of white supremacy and toxic masculinity. One of the things that's become clear with the outbreak of this virus is the inequitable distribution of wealth in this country. And with the broken healthcare system and its inability to meet the demands, especially of those most vulnerable and most at risk, perhaps we could use some of this time as an opportunity to figure out how can we do some things differently. For those of us who do have extra time, instead of binging on Tiger King on Netflix, what can we do to transform these unjust systems of oppression? Can you envision what it would look like to live more sustainably on this earth? What steps can we take to move towards that vision? Can we take some of this extra time to rethink, re-examine, and redo our ways of living and being? Of course, if you are currently working from home with kids at home, this is probably not your time to rework the fabric of society. It may take all you've got just to get through this surreal time with your family intact. For many of us, these are very scary and very difficult times, and simply coping with the anxiety of the unknown day to day is all we can manage. And if that is true for you, then I just encourage you to find the best ways to take care of yourself, which may mean binge watching Netflix. No shame, no judgment. These are not ordinary times. The Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman once said, ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. I ask you, what gives you spiritual strength and resilience to move through difficult times? Is it prayer or art, writing, gardening, running, yoga? What is it for you? What gives you spiritual strength and resilience? Because whatever brings you comfort, strength, and joy, please make time to do more of that. The most spiritually grounding times for me are when I am hiking in nature. I have a special tree about 1/4 mile back from my house, near the Gun River, to which I often retreat. Taking deep breaths as I walk out there, I can feel the layers of stress release. The worries gradually drop away with each exhale. And as I arrive, I am greeted by a cacophony of spring sounds. The frogs and the bird songs soothe my spirit with their medicine. I always greet my tree with as many big hugs and kisses as I can. When I am in this spot, my soul is nourished, and I feel deeply connected with nature and with mystery. This is from where I gain my spiritual strength and sustenance. It is here that I feel the cares of the world move through me. I feel soothed. I feel healed. And deeply connected. I'm reminded of what's most important. One of the key questions that I ask myself each day in my Lojong practice is how can I transform difficult and unfavorable circumstances into the path of learning and growth toward enlightenment? This is where the serenity prayer comes in handy to help me discern those things over which I have no control and to change the things I can. When I meditate immersed in nature, I notice when I'm feeling triggered or challenged by people and situations. And I try to inquire, how can I make myself softer, more compassionate? I'm reminded to choose wisely as often as I can and to start again when I've fallen short. This applies to the big picture as well as the micro level. I ask myself, how am I being in relationship with the people with whom I interact each day? How am I minimizing my negative impact on the earth with my daily choices? How am I choosing to act from love rather than fear? For those of us who are working on the front lines or home with kids, may we carve out time for the things that most nourish our spirits to help us get through this challenging time. For those of us who have lost our jobs and our livelihoods, may we support one another in the face of so much uncertainty and challenge. And for those of us with some unexpected time and space to consider our influence in the world, may we recognize our power and our privilege and challenge ourselves to examine our complicity in this current system and be willing to make changes that promote more equity and sustainability. May we take some of the veils off of our eyes as to the hidden costs of our food systems, of our daily choices, of our lifestyles. May we commit or recommit to moving towards more sustainable, equitable, and just ways of living in harmony with each other and with the earth. We are living in the midst of an unusual time in the history of the world. It is most important to listen within and do what you need to do to best care for ourselves, for our families. And I encourage all of us to go outside every day to experience some of the beauty and the solace that nature offers us free of charge. If we simply give it our attention, we can experience the miracle of spring unfolding each day before us in all of its glorious wonder. May each of us find ways to keep our spirits nourished and ensure our daily actions stem from love. For all of us, Thurman says, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. What the world needs is for more people who have come alive. I ask you, what gives you strength and spiritual resilience? Please do more of that. Right now, the world needs more courage, more resilience in the midst of this global pandemic. As the earth demonstrates its resilience and healing power, may the human spirit rise up to meet it. May we seize this unique opportunity to move toward environmental sustainability, to live in harmony with each other and with the earth. May it be so.
Hello there. So before I start, can anyone hear me? Yes, I see nods. So it's working okay. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get through this song. And please join me. It is Blue Boat Home. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heaven in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. My blue boat home. My blue boat home.
So thank you. At this time, we would like to invite everyone who is interested to join us for coffee hour, or I mean coffee 15 minutes. So if you would like to be a part of that, we invite you to stay on after Darryl does our little refrain from Blue Boat Home for our postlude. And if you don't, you're welcome to log off during that time. It's a lovely chance to just reconnect, just to connect with a small group of people for a few minutes. I've really been enjoying it. For our closing words, as we prepare to part from one another, may we remember the strength and resilience that lies within each one of us. May we remember that even though we are physically distanced from one another, we are not alone. We are deeply connected by the bonds of love that surround us all. May we try to be our best selves every day and recognize the goodness and love that we each bring into the world simply by being ourselves. May we minimize our negative impacts on the earth, and may our actions bring forth more justice, more peace, more love, and more harmony. Blessed be. Go forth in peace and go in love.